Hey, good morning, all you freedom loving patriots out there. This is Craig Gibson with Sons of Liberty, and welcome to this edition of Constitution Coffee and Service. So, to kick this off, this week's coffee comes from Overwatch Coffee Shop, and it is our Code 4 maple syrup and smoky bacon flavored coffee. This is a wonderful medium roast that has become a favorite with those who have tried it, those who have purchased it, and us, of course. So why are we doing Code 4 this week? Well, for those of you that don't know, this is National Police Week. Every year since 1962, when President Kennedy declared May 15th National Peace Officers Memorial Day, we use this week surrounding May 15th, wherever it falls on the calendar that year, as a time to honor and recognize the officers that put it all on the line to keep our community safe, to investigate crimes, to be a counselor, to be a pastor, to be a mediator. I mean, police have to do so many things. They have so many different roles out there in the field, But we use this week to honor them, to recognize them, to thank them, but also to recognize those who have made the ultimate sacrifice in doing their duty for their communities, their state, their cities, or their counties. In 2020, so far, we have lost 72 police officers and one canine officer. And a lot of people, when they hear canine officer, they think, oh, it's just a dog. Well, that dog is so much more. I mean, think about your own pets. A lot of people, when they have a pet, whether it be a dog, cat, rabbit, whatever, view that pet as family. All right, they do everything they can for them. They provide for them food, water, shelter, hopefully love, affection. There are those out there that mistreat animals and are abusive, and they do not provide those animals those things. But the canine officers are just as much family, just as much a police officer as the men and women who put on a uniform every day. Very much like dogs who are taken into combat to locate bombs, to sniff out targets. They are very much soldiers. And when they lose an officer, regardless of two-legged or four-legged, it hurts. It reminds them of what could happen at any given moment in their career. So, guys, this week especially, go out, thank an officer when you see him. Be respectful. If an officer pulls you over, don't go out there with an attitude. Whether you did anything wrong or not, be respectful. They have a job they have to do. Some of them, don't get me wrong, some of them absolutely abuse their power and do things that are way outside the law and the line that they shouldn't cross. But you know what? That happens in any profession. So when we start blaming police officers for every problem and upholding the law for doing their duty, we need to take a step back. You have no idea what that officer may have been through that day. By the same token, officers don't know what you're going through. So, you know what? If we treat each other with some respect out there, we'd have a lot less shootings, a lot less people dying. But this is, this week it's about honoring them, honoring the sacrifice of those who have fallen in the name of law. Okay, guys, so now, Constitution. Right. So it is obvious when you look around and you see what people say and what they do, and how quickly they give in to certain things in the name of safety, security, whatever the case may be. That number one, our education system has failed. It still amazes me the number of young people who couldn't even begin to tell you the first 10 amendments of the Bill of Rights. The first 10 that were created when the Bill of Rights started. So we're going to start at the beginning. The preamble, the mission statement, the promise, the whatever you want to call it, the beginning. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution of the United States of America. Now, to many, those are just words on paper. But what they don't understand is, blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Well, like I said, the education system has failed. Ask people what posterity means. And depending on their age and where they went to school in this country, they have no clue. Some of them think it's the back part of your anatomy. But anyway, posterity, the future, our future generations. Okay, so this wasn't written just for them. If anybody has any doubt whatsoever, this was written not only to say, look, this is who we are going to be under this Constitution, but this is going to cover future generations. And unfortunately, some of our future generations have this idea that it's not worth it, that we need to change everything and do away with the Constitution. Not understanding that this wasn't something written by men, if you understand what I'm saying. Yes, they put the pen to the paper and put the ink on there that scrolled the words that have lived since it was written. But this didn't come from just their own idea. Yes, they had an idea to create this country that would be, more just than any other country out there, where we would have the common defense of all people in this nation. There were a lot of things, and including protecting the blessings of liberty. You hear a lot of people talk about other countries and other countries having more freedoms, and you hear people say things like, well, we're really not that free because, okay, well, you say that, but you try going to just about any other country out there and make that statement. That statement could land you in prison. That statement could land you dead, tortured, beheaded. So, yeah, no, you know what? We may not be as free as you'd like to be, but we are freer than really anywhere else. And, there's all kinds of examples people try to throw out there, but if they actually do the research instead of listening to what somebody else, some college professor, some high school teacher, or somebody else on YouTube has said, and they actually do the research, they will find out that freedom is not exactly the freedom that they think it is. We must stand up, preserve, and protect our Constitution. Our military men and women, when they take the oath of enlistment, that oath is to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Every single American should take that oath. Even just that part of it, because, the part about obeying your officers and the president according to the Code of Military Justice, okay, that doesn't directly apply to citizens. But being the kind of citizen that is worth dying for, fighting for, protecting, that is our responsibility. And when we willingly give up our rights because of uneducation, because of manipulation, we are not being the kind of people worth fighting for and dying for. Because here's the thing, when we give up our rights, even temporarily, or what we deem to be temporary, or we may not see it as giving them up at all, because it's been twisted in such a way that it sounds so great. But, once we've given up our rights, even just a small part of it, or shown that we're willing to do this, and a tyrannical government at some point steps in, full tyrannical, both House, Senate, Justice Department, the executive branch, the legislative branch, all three branches, all three houses coming together to just commit complete tyranny upon the people of America. Those same people that are willingly giving up rights are the same ones that are going to turn to our military and say, please protect me, defend me, fight for my rights. Why should they? They will. They will because that's the oath they take. That's what they do. They don't just fight for those who support them. They fight for all of us. Whether we want them to or not, whether we agree with the battle they're in, whether we agree with their code of military justice, whether we agree with black operations that we never really know anything about, it doesn't matter. They take an oath, they sign up to do a duty, and they do that duty to the best of their ability. And they don't care. They don't care what your political beliefs are. They don't care what your religious beliefs are. They don't care what the color of your skin is. They go out and they do their duty. And I know that's hard for some to understand. And I know it's hard for some to understand where I'm coming from when I talk about people giving up their rights, because there are many that don't view it that way. And that's fine. You know what? That's the great thing about America. We can disagree and still be Americans. We can disagree and still be family. We can disagree and still be friends. We don't have to agree on everything. Because if we did, this would be kind of a boring country, It'd be a boring world. If we all thought the same, believed the same. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is being that American that supports that document, that supports what our ancestors fought, bled, and died for, gave up land and wealth for. They saw something so great that could come out of separating themselves from the British. They saw the opportunity to build such a great nation, a nation where people could come together regardless of where they're from, regardless of what their religion is, but they could come together. They could blend their cultures to create the American culture. Sometimes people ask, well, what is the American culture? Because we're so blended. Well, the American culture is the blending of all these cultures. and bringing it together to create an America where you get to try things and see things and experience things that you would never get to do unless you traveled the world. And even still, depending on the country you go to, still wouldn't be able to experience some of this because of laws and just hatred of America. It's funny. We act like the Constitution doesn't mean anything. We act like our culture, our nation is just that. It's a nation, whatever. It's not special. Well, but we are. We are, and let me explain to you why. We are both the most loved and the most hated nation in the world. You have those who would love to destroy us because, to them we are the great Satan. Our Constitution, it's toilet paper. It needs to go away. But then you have those who want to be here so badly, they are willing to sacrifice their life and they are willing to break our laws to get here. That doesn't make it right by any means, but they love our nation so much, they're willing to leave their home to come here for an opportunity that you don't have anywhere else in the world. When we talk about businesses, and again, this goes back to other countries and people saying, oh, they're more free. Really? Well, up until recently, yes, we're regulated in business. We are taxed in business in different way than just your personal taxes. But typically, if we have done nothing illegal, nothing wrong, government doesn't shut you down. But what we've seen with a pandemic is that our entire nation got shut down. Small businesses, large businesses were told they had to shut their doors because they were non-essential. So you still think it's not important to stand up for the Constitution and to learn the Constitution and to understand what these words actually mean? Well, it's very important. And this has gone a little longer than I had thought it was going to. So we're not going to get into the articles today. But let me just tell you this. The first 3 articles of the Constitution, following the beginning, following the preamble, are based on explaining the duties of the 3 branches of government: the executive, the judicial, and the legislative branch. Do you understand where the founding fathers found certain things lied in priority? Because those 3 articles, the first 3, if those are not adhered to, which we know in a lot of cases they're not, if those are not adhered to, then the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments, and everyone that follows is in jeopardy. So we will move on to the articles next week. Like I said, this is hitting a little longer than I had intended. So this week, of course, for service, we're just honoring all of our law enforcement men and women. I have had the opportunity to meet some really great people who serve our communities in uniform and out of uniform. So guys, I know a lot of areas still doing the whole social distancing thing. It doesn't stop you from saying thank you. So, thank an officer. Families of officers, give your husband or wife a hug when they get home, because they do so many things that people don't realize and put their life on the line every day put their families' lives on the line. When you think about it, some of the things that they respond to, there's just so much risk there. So thank them, appreciate them, show a little kindness, not just to officers, but to your fellow man. Show a little kindness. Let's join together as Americans. Let's get this country back up and going. Let's start respecting each other. And maybe, just maybe, we will be the kind of country you want us to be. One where we can still have different opinions, we can still disagree, but at the end of the day, if someone attacks our nation, we stand together and we fight back and we protect what is sacred. Our faith, our family, and our Constitution. All right, guys, as always, faith, not fear. We will talk to you next week.